Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people. Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
Oh, we'd like to say good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Church Information and Open Forum. I'm Marion Barnett, your host. We hear each and every Saturday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. on 89.3 FM, the voice of the people. Got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things going on in our community. We'll get to Ebola during the 8 o'clock hour, and we have some things we need to say about that, how the treatment of these particular health professionals that was, one is treated so nice and the other is treated so nasty. And I hope you picked up on that. The lady in Atlanta is treated nasty. The lady that's gone up to Maryland is treated so nice. They say she shouldn't have traveled, but she checked with the CDC and they okayed it. So we're going to talk about that, and because we're going to have a Harvard professor on. He's been on before to talk about it, along with our own Dr. Travis Edwards. We'll be talking about that in the 8 o'clock hour. But right now, we are going to talk about domestic violence, something very prevalent in our community. On the line with us, we have Mr. Henry Atkins and Ms. Angela Downs. Could you bring them on? Ms. Downs, are you there?
I am, Reverend Barnett. Good morning.
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on your show to talk about this very important issue.
Oh, thank you. I'm just glad you're here. Also, Ms. Atkins, are you there?
I'm here, Reverend Barnett. Thanks again for having us.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. You're having a seminar on domestic violence. Is that next Saturday?
Yes,
give us the date.
Mm-hmm. It's next Saturday, October the 25th, at 9 o'clock. It will start at 9 to 12 noon. Mm-hmm. It will be at the Cedar Crest Church of Christ in beautiful Oak Cliff, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, you go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so we are trying to tie into that month because domestic violence is something that's in the news right now. It's very prevalent in our society. But for many of us, especially us church people, I'm a minister for family and marriage enrichment, and I do a lot of counseling. And many of the people that come to me are very quiet about what's happening in their homes, what's happening in their lives. We are telling people that we cannot help you unless you speak up, unless we know that you need our assistance. There are a lot of agencies that are set up to bring some help to you, but if we don't know what's happening, we can't advise you, we can't refer you, we can't help you. So we are trying to bring awareness, especially in our churches, that this is needed, this is something that affects each and every one of us. Everybody sitting in the pew knows somebody or have gone through some kind of domestic violence.
Would you define domestic violence?
Sure. This is Attorney Atkins, and I'm an attorney that's really focused my career on the issue of domestic violence and other what we call interpersonal violence issues like child abuse and human trafficking. Mm-hmm. And really, domestic violence, it's a very simple definition, but it really refers to a wide variety of behaviors used by individuals to exert power and control over their intimate partners or former partners. So it can be somebody that you actually used to have a relationship with. And not all abuse is physical. I think when people think about domestic violence, they think that someone has to actually be hitting them. But sometimes some of the most horrible abuse can be emotional. It can also be economic or financial. If you have someone who is really controlling the purse strings, as they say, there's also threats about their children and using intimidation, also isolation and coercion. So any of those behaviors can really be used to control the victim and can be defined as domestic violence. And it's distinguished. I know people talk about violence with strangers, but it's really distinguished by battering from strangers in that there's a pattern of abuse and control. So it's not just an isolated event. There's a pattern of someone doing and exerting this power and control over an individual over and over again. And, I'm really, one of the things that I'm so excited about being involved in this conference is that 39% of Texas women, and that's more than 1 in 3 in our very communities, has experienced intimate partner violence in their lives. And
wait a minute, you said 39%?
39% of Texas women, and when
have been abused domestically.
Yes, sir.
Almost 40%.
Almost 40%. So that's really 1 in 3 women.
That's past 1 in 3 women.
Yeah.
Has been abused.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that...
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Is this abuse... What about economic lines? Do that have anything to do with abuse?
What's really interesting is it crosses all lines, it crosses all races. So it's not just who you would think of as a person who is being abused, but I've worked with women who were had very low economic status, and I've worked with women who had very high economic status from very fancy neighborhoods. And what was interesting, the women that were in kind of what I call the fancier neighborhoods were more reluctant to come forward because economically they had a lot more to lose.
And plus, they had a sort of a status
absolutely.
in their community that they did not want to disturb.
Absolutely.
But why is it, basically, we've seen here lately, they have been African-American athletes that we seem like to be personifying the poster children for domestic abuse. Why is it we've seen mostly African-Americans on this?
I'm not sure about why we're seeing that. I think it's one of those things where there were video cameras present for that offense, and it's one of those things that just could not be denied. And, but I'm not sure, why we're seeing African-American athletes really in that position. But I think that in that particular circumstance, and I think you're referring to the Ray Rice incident.
Well, we can talk about the young man down in Palestine.
Absolutely.
Being targeted. They say use a switch on his son. And Ebola has taken them off of the front page.
Yeah.
But before Ebola, it was the African-American athletes, especially football, basketball, those who play team sports, seem to be the objects of attention in America. But you say it cut across all economic lines and racial lines.
It certainly does. I've worked with victims of all races, all economic statuses. So there's not just one particular group that this is happening to, but it's happening to everyone.
Can a woman abuse a man?
Absolutely, but I will tell you that the statistics, Reverend Barnett, are lower on that. It's about 5%. So 90 to 90%, 95%, of the victims of domestic violence are women. So it's a lower percentage of folks that are female that are really being abused.
Now, can verbal abuse, is that considered a part of domestic violence?
It certainly is. And actually, that can be one of the most troubling.
But you said women are only 5% of the abusers, and
yes.
You say verbal abuse can be. Come on now.
Can. Well, I mean, it's one of those things, and if you think about it, if it's a control tactic, and for emotional abuse, and it's verbal attacks, it's humiliation. And it's aimed at really bringing down the victim's sense of self. So if you have someone saying negative things about you, telling you that, you're criticizing you, threatening your children, a lot of batterers sometimes will say, I'm going to do something to your children, I'm going to do something to your pet, mocking your religious beliefs or your appearance, name-calling, challenging your sense of reality. If you hear those things over and over again, they really start to pick away your self-worth and your self-esteem. And again, that's another way that batterers will control the victims.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it doesn't...
Are we going on stats that the police, FBI, whose stats are we using on these particular percentages?
Well, the 90 to 95 of the victims being women, that's from the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's usually physical abuse, correct?
That's all kinds of abuse.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. And women are only 5%.
Yeah.
All right. Now, when we look at what's going on in our families, is the abuse mostly between the spouses or significant others, or does it run along lines where it might be incest or pedophilia? Could you explain all of that?
Well, when we talk about domestic violence, it's a very broad range of partners. So we're talking about married folks that have been in some kind of relationship, a boyfriend, girlfriend, married couples, just folks that have some kind of intimate partner or former partner relationship. So it's kind of a broad range of folks. And if you recall, that's different from kind of a stranger where you don't have a relationship with somebody. So there's got to be some kind of relationship between the folks.
I was looking at one of the big cases we've had in the last year or so was the Reverend Clifford Dollar. I think, did he spank his daughter or do something? And they took him to jail. Are y'all familiar with that one? Is that domestic abuse? Mr. Atkins?
Yeah, he did. He chastised his daughter. I mean, it was a normal thing, but it was blown out of proportion because he is a high-profile minister, television evangelist. So when his daughter called CPS, and many of our children today, they're brazen enough to tell you that if you put your hands on me, I will call CPS.
Yes, they are. Mm-hmm.
And so she did, and so that became national news. But if you follow that, it was thrown out. But before it was thrown out, it was all over the national media.
Well, they drug him through the mud before they cleared him.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And that's what our media will do because they're trying to sell a story. They're trying to get the scoop. They want to hype whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But that, because he was high profile, it was highlighted. But it happens all the time. There are cases right here in Texas where this thing happens. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, in the last 4 years, there has been almost 3.5 million violent crimes committed against family members, and that family members includes children, not just spouses, significant others. 49% of this was against spouses, but the rest was against the children and other people in the household. This cuts over the last 4 years. This is a stat that covers the entire United States. We also find that it's not just people that are married that suffers domestic violence. That same organization, that same agency, the U.S. Department of Justice, also states within the last 4 years, 84% of abused victims, we're talking females only, being abused by their spouse, but 86% of young women have been abused by their boyfriends or their significant other, or intimate partner. Now, these incidents have been reported. It's estimated that there are a lot of things that have not been reported. That 5% of men that have been reported as being abused, they estimate that is a lot higher, but because men will not come forward, it's something about your manhood.
Right.
You don't want to let people know that you have been dominated and abused by your spouse. So that's a very low figure, but it's estimated that it could be, and it probably is, a lot higher than 5%.
Now, when we begin to look at these stats and how they're working out, have you think they are rising, or is just more reporting?
It's just more reporting. This situation has been consistent in our society for many, many years. It goes all the way back. That is a pattern that was established early on and has continued. Because we're talking about it, it's getting better, but it's still alarmingly high. To give you an example...
I tell you what, hold that right there. I'm up against a short break. And y'all can call us. We have callers on the line. But y'all can call us at 972-647-1893. And I'll be right back. All right, we're back on Church Information and Open Forum. I'm Marion Barnett, your host, and we're talking about domestic violence this morning. Our special guest this morning is Dr. Henry Atkins, Miss Angela Downs, and I think the lady introduced herself as Mrs. Atkins, and they're going to be at a conference at the Cedar Crest Church of Christ on next Saturday morning. That begins at what time? 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock, yes, sir.
And now, who's invited to this?
Well, we have a panel of experts and representatives. We will have individuals from agencies such as Brighter Tomorrow, which is a shelter for black women. The Family Care Connection, the Family Place, New Beginnings, Genesis Women's Shelter. These organizations will be represented. We will also have...
I wanted to know, what about the general public? Can they come?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm just telling you who's going to be on the panel, but this is open to the general public. We really are asking the general public to come out and be a part of this very important conference. We visit some churches. We're sending our information to various churches because, this is the title of this conference is My Silent Tears. Because we don't talk about this in the church. We are very quiet about it. And people are hurting, and we want to address that hurt by addressing the source of the hurt, which is the domestic violence within one's own home, within one's family. So everyone is invited to be there.
All right. Let me ask Mrs. Downs. Ms. Downs, are you there?
I am here, Reverend.
All righty. Why do women stay in a relationship like that?
You know, that is a great, great question. And it's one of those things that there are so many reasons that women stay in relationships. But, you know, the question that we always think of is, why does the perpetrator perpetrate? Might be a better question.
Well, that is a question. And you're talking about the $64,000 question. That
Yeah, absolutely.
why would someone, do you think the person that abuses another person and their spouses, do you think they love that person?
You know, many times in their way of thinking, they do love that person, but they want to, you know, as we've talked about, they want to exert that power and control over that person, you know, over that victim. And
it's about power.
It's about power. It's about control.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they talk about that there are three phases that we call the cycle of violence. And there's a three-phase cycle of violence that really shows how the dynamics of the abusive relationship works. Mm-hmm. And those three phases are tension building, abuse and violence, which is the second phase, and then the third phase, the apology and the honeymoon. And those things happen over and over again in that relationship.
Well, let me ask you, ladies, if you're dating a guy, say you date him for a while and then you're married, do you think that person will some way, somehow show this before y'all exchange vows?
Well, you know, Reverend Barnett, it's one of those things where I've worked with a lot of victims, you know, as a lawyer, working on the issue of domestic violence. And there's always signs, and I've talked to women who say that they have that kind of a feeling in their stomach a lot of times. But many times these abusers are so charming. They really draw the victims in. You know, they're guys who are kind of the life of the party. They're just extremely charming, and they draw the women in. And kind of by the time that a woman figures out that something is going wrong, they're already married, they have kids, they have factors where they feel like it's more difficult for them to leave. And on the outside, a lot of these perpetrators, people would never know what's going on. You know, I think the title of this conference next week, our Silent Tears, is absolutely fitting, because these things are happening behind closed doors.
All right. 972-647-1893 is the number to call. Let's go to line 2 and say good morning. Who is that? Tanya? All right. Good morning, Tanya.
Hi, my name is Tanya Derrick, and I'm
Tanya. Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta, and our organization is partnering with Cedar Crest Church of Christ on this issue, and because we are an organization of over 250,000 women, it's important for us to, it's happening to us, so it's important for us to be out there and let the world know that, you know, we are being affected by this, and we need to find a way to stop this domestic violence against us.
Now, most of the ladies you'll find in Delta Sigma Theta, most of you, I didn't say all, but most of you are college graduates, correct?
Yes.
Now, does education deter any of this, or does it, educational lines, it falls into the same trap as everyone else?
I think it falls into the same trap. I can't speak for everyone, of course, but I think it falls into the same trap. We all want to be loved by someone, and it's just a matter of how far you will allow that person to go.
Well, if you have an education, there's a good possibility you have a good income. Mm-hmm. Why would you stay? You got an income. You can take care of yourself, and you can make your own living. Why would you stay into a relationship like that?
I think that if someone wanted to stay in an abusive relationship, it's because even though they have this high education and gotten all these accolades, that they are still looking for the outward appearance that they are coupled up with someone, and this person loves them because, in spite of the fact that, he may be abusing them physically or mentally. It's just, I'm educated, and this shouldn't be happening to me. There's an initial shock. Mm-hmm. But in it happening, and you, like other people who may not have as much education as we do, are just in shock by it.
Do you believe women are sometimes raised wrong to be domesticated to take abuse? Do you think it comes basically from rearing?
It in some cases it may, I believe. If that's what you were raised up, I think about my own childhood, and I grew up in a single-parent home, and I remember a couple of instances when one of my mom's boyfriends did hit her, and we saw that. And it's had an effect on me to make me fearful of allowing someone to be in my household.
What was your mother's reaction to that?
She was shocked by that because he had never done that to her. And I have brothers, and she and my brothers immediately, escorted him out of the house. It was just the initial shock.
Oh, they let him walk out?
Yeah, after, some small confrontation.
Yeah, well, I knew that. Not the boys, black men don't let people hit their mother.
Absolutely not, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the Deltas, you all are teaming with the church. This is fantastic. Y'all getting together with the church and all of y'all. Brother Atkins, you naming off a jillion organizations that's going to be represented there. And how long will the conference last?
The conference we're scheduled from 9 a.m. until 12 noon. But it's possibilities that we can go longer as long as people are interested, as long as people are willing to ask questions. We are there to give answers as best we can. We are also invited to be on our panel. We have a judge that will be there. Of course, we will have an attorney. We will have a probation officer, a representative from the Dallas Police Department, Angela that's been talking here this morning. She's an attorney, and that's my daughter. And when she worked at the Dallas County District Attorney's office, she became involved in domestic violence, and so her entire career has been involved in this phenomenon. And so it's really good that she's going to help me to work with the Delta so that we can have a fantastic summit and give some vital information to the public.
Angela, are you still there?
I am, Reverend.
I think we had a little technical difficulty.
I think there was a little technical difficulty there, but I'm back and ready to talk.
Angela, if a lady calls, say a lady, she's there and been beaten by this character, and she got 2 or 3 kids or more there at the house, she calls the police. What could happen there? Could the police come, not arrest anyone, and leave? What's going to happen?
Well, for the most part, if you call the police, they will come out, and they're going to try to figure out what happened. And, they're going to talk to both parties and really do an assessment of the situation. And for the most part, if they can make a determination that violence has occurred or there's been an incident, they're more likely than not, they're going to take somebody into custody.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do y'all will have places and let them know there are places for women to go that may not have a lot of money, may not have any money, that she and her children can be taken care of and have some protection, some privacy with this? Will y'all have people that run those type of, are they called shelters or what?
Yeah, well, I mean, there'll be representatives. All kinds of domestic violence resources will be attending the conference from the women's shelters, I think with Brighter Tomorrows, the Family Place. There'll also be representatives from other organizations, the Dallas Police Department. There'll be a judge, an attorney. So there'll be a lot of people there that have wonderful information. One thing I do want to share is that for one thing that folks who are feeling as though they are in immediate trouble is they can contact the Dallas County District Attorney's Office and speak with someone in that office about a protective order. And a protective order is free. You don't have to pay for it, but what it will do, it will be a way, if you've determined that you want to be away from your abuser, it will tell that abuser that they must stay away from you, 500 feet from where you live or work.
Well, now, how long does it take to obtain one of those orders?
You know, there is a hearing that has to happen. It's a civil process, but it's through our criminal courts, and but they can be sped through or expedited if you're in immediate danger. But that is something that that women and other folks who are feeling as though they're threatened can do, just as another level of protection. And it's not bulletproof. It's not something it is a piece of paper, but it can really be a wake-up call for an abuser, because it really tells them that they can't commit family violence, they can't threaten you, they can't threaten somebody through you. We see a lot of cases where an abuser will say, well, I didn't threaten the woman, but I had, my friend Bubba threaten this woman through Bubba. And it also it just will prevent and maybe diffuse some of that behavior.
Is there a double standard in this? Hello? Not everybody at once. All right. We saw where the football player knocked his fiancée down, which now is his wife. But we also see where Beyonce's sister was kicking Jay-Z. He went to jail. Well, he hadn't gone to jail, but he's been thrown out of football. And she was considered a hero. How do we deal with this? Not everybody at once. Not everybody at once. Now, I think y'all saw both videos.
Yeah, we did. And, the situation with the football player, it was very, very upsetting. And
it wasn't upsetting when she was kicking Jay-Z, was it?
Well, I'm going to speak about the football player situation, and then I'll talk about the situation with Jay-Z. It was one of those things where it was so in your face with the football player that we had to really react to that. And I think that the National Football League has really they're making some strides to really address the situation. Football is a very violent sport, but it's a business. And when it became one of those things to where it was really going to affect their business and affect women who support football, they really felt as though they really needed to address the issue. And I'm a huge football fan. And I really had to think, is the game of football so violent where I can't really support my favorite team? So, I think that that's something that they've had to take a good hard look at, and they really are making some strides to address it. In the situation with Beyonce's sister, Jay-Z and Beyonce's sister, I'm forgetting her name, Solange, their brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they wouldn't be considered a domestic violence case because they don't have that kind of relationship. As we've talked about how domestic
Isn't that
violence
family violence?
They would not. They are not intimate partners. I mean, they don't have any kind of. They wouldn't be considered domestic violence.
Well, that's family violence. They're all in the same family, and she kicked him several times. She kicked the stubborns out of it.
Now, she didn't know there was a very large bodyguard in between her.
No, she still got him. But at the same time, I'm asking because there are men, and men are too ashamed to come on and admit it, that they are abused also. And it seems to be that we only get upset when a man hit a woman. Maybe that's just the way society is, and maybe that's the way it ought to be. But would a man come to your conference and feel like maybe he has a running chance to tell his story?
Absolutely, and we encourage that. I talked to an older man. He's my age. He's in his 60s, and he said for years his wife was abusive to him. Mm-hmm. He was not a very well educated man. He dropped out of school. In the 7th grade, he went to work. Hardworking man, but he was a functional illiterate. Mm-hmm. And his wife used that against him, and she was very abusive to him, verbally, emotionally, and to the point that his kids would tell him, "So, Daddy, why don't you leave?" But he wouldn't leave because he felt an obligation to keep his family intact. But he told me that he never felt better than he feels today, and his wife just died about 2 years ago.
Wow.
He doesn't have that pressure. And that was domestic abuse that lasted several years with him. Mm-hmm. And there are many men that go through that, and they stay for the sake of the family, just like women. Mm-hmm. But they don't come forth and talk about it. He came to me because I'm a counselor at my church. Uh-huh. I'm a certified Christian counselor. So he came to me and just to talk to me about that situation. Mm-hmm. He will not come to the conference and speak of this, but we do have another person that will come and talk about this situation. And we need men to speak up because it's not a one-sided thing. All right. It covers the whole gambit of the family. Mm-hmm. We have children. We have children that abuse their parents. Mm-hmm. We have elder abuse that even though we don't hear a lot about it, it is something that's coming to the forefront today. Angela, you might want to speak a little bit about that.
Could she?
Absolutely.
We're going to have to wrap up this segment. Give us the time and the date again.
The date is October the 25th. Location. That's next Saturday. Mm-hmm. We will start at 9 o'clock, but we want you to come early. Come around 8:30. And so we can register. We want to make sure that we can give everybody some information about domestic violence that they can take back to their homes and to their churches and share with others. It's going to be something that we want to start this year, but we want to continue this kind of dialogue with the general public.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I hate to cut you off. Thank you all for being a part of this program. But we got another segment we got to go into. And I thank all of y'all, everybody, headed toward the next Saturday at 8:30. Go to the Cedar Crest Church of Christ. All righty.
Thank you so much, Reverend, for letting us speak about this important topic.
All right. Thank you. Tell you what, we're up against a short break, and when we come back, we should be talking to school board trustee, and one of our school board trustees. We'll be right back. All right, we're back on Church Information and Open Forum. I'm waiting on the call from Ms. Joyce Foreman with the Dallas Independent School District, a trustee, and she was to call me at this time. That's why I had to try to clear as many lines as I could. We want to get this in, and that seems to be going to be a great conference over at Cedar Crest Church of Christ. So everyone should be going that has any interest whatsoever in domestic violence. And you can call me at 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893 if you have something. We have an open line until 8 o'clock. For the next 15, 17 minutes, we'll have an open line. 972-647-1893 is the number to call. Let's go to line 3 and say good morning to Al. Let's get him while you're on. Good morning, Al.
Yes, Black Hawk.
Black Hawk, how are you doing this morning?
Listen, a minister was killed this week, Reverend Williams. So my heart goes out to his family.
Reverend Williams?
Reverend Williams.
He was killed this week?
Yes, he missed a bingo game, won some money, and somebody killed him over South Dallas.
At a bingo game?
No, he walked out of the bingo house, and somebody killed him.
Oh, that's sad. That's sad. I know several Reverend Williams. Do you know his first name?
I just know Reverend Williams' last name. It was on TV.
Hey, okay, I missed him. I missed that some kind of way. Okay.
Early voting. Let's get out and vote, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get out and vote. We have to do it. Democrat, all the way.
All right. You said you're voting Democrat all the way.
I serve them.
All right. Okay, then. Thank you, Black Hawk. Always appreciate you. All right. 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893. Let's go to line 2 and say good morning to Reverend Wright. All righty? Good morning, Reverend Wright.
Good morning, Pat. How you doing this morning?
Fine. You doing all right?
Oh, yeah, pretty good. You had a great first-hand show, and you asked an awesome question about the double standard. But what I would like to know, Pastor, is how many of these women that are in this domestic violence was raised in a home where there was a mother and a father? Because at the end of the day, a real man's going to tell his daughter, no man had no business putting his hands on you. It ain't got nothing to do with love.
One of the ladies did raise the question. She said she grew up in a single-family home, and I think obviously was the mother's boyfriend struck their mother in front of them. But you're right. That would have been a good question.
It's the result of no family, no father and mother, which was a genocidal attack on the family, and that's the result of it. But I want to give you an update on Michael Dunn out of Florida was sentenced to life for shooting a young black boy.
Great. That's what he deserves.
Yeah, he was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
That's what he deserves.
Well, I also let you know that Arkansas Supreme Court said that voter ID was unconstitutional, and so they did. They said it was unconstitutional, and so they wasn't trying to hear nothing. And this is awesome. This is a plus for Arkansas, and when it comes to Texas, we need to make sure the same thing happens.
Well, now you know they overturned the judge down in South Texas, and they tried to replace that voter ID as being valid. But it just shows you how backwards and ignorant things are in Texas, because we have people. This state wants to be one of the top states. It is one of the second largest states both ways, geographically and numerically. But at the same time, we are very backwards when it comes to politics.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have to go, if we want to be an international power like they want to be in Texas, we got to move to the 21st century. We can't hold these 1900 and 1800 laws and that hold people down, hold people back. And we just can't do it and be an intricate part of the 21st century. We just can't do it. And I'll be glad when Texas politics change.
Well, you know, what will help them change is that we get people, politicians in that look like us, that will become a voice.
Yeah, because they look like us does not necessarily mean they're going to vote like us and help us. Now,
you are absolutely right with that. I know you got George Foreman coming on, but I want to know, Pastor Will, get your point of view on what do you think is the deal with the Mike Miles and because I heard and I had some calls the other day said that because of what Mike Miles did was and they told me, and I got to talk to Sister Waters, but somebody called me and said that Mike Miles had better than Nuttall escorted out of the building, but they told me that Sister Waters did the same thing with the director of NAACP. And so I got to talk to her about it and say, where does the difference come in when it comes to respect for each other?
Yeah, well, I've got to see. I want to talk with Joyce. All my lines are jammed, so I don't know if Joyce can get in. But,
let me go ahead and I'll talk with you later.
Yeah, have you got her number?
Yeah, I'll call her.
Make sure she's trying to get in, and we'll try to get a line clear in just 1 second.
Okay, then.
All right, thank you. All right. That's 972-647-1893. Let's go to Rosalind on line 1. All right.
Good morning, Dr. Barnett.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm great. Wow, this is actually my fourth Saturday tuning in with Knon, and I am loving it. As on last Saturday, I did mention the stages of domestic abuse and domestic violence.
Yes, you did.
And I did. And like I said, abuse, it doesn't start in a sudden outburst of physical force. And I was physically abused, and I grew up, protecting my mother every night, as a child, elementary, school-age child, with my stepfather coming into the home at night from alcoholism, suffering from alcoholism, and we had to be my youngest brother. I was the oldest, and my brother was right under me. So we had to stay up like 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whenever he came in from his drinking binge, and protect our mother. He called her Black Bees and all kind of names. That was verbal abuse. To where he began to put his hands on my mother, to where I remember crying, trying to braid her hair because she had stitches, going down her head all the way to her neck. I remember we had to, back then we had some nunchucks. My brother thought he was the Karate Kid. So, we had to stay up nightly, late night hour.
Why did your mother stay in that relationship?
I do not know. I do not know. And today, I'm 52 years old, right? And to this day, she has not asked us to forgive her, for what an impact it may have put on us.
Is she still with this guy?
I'm sorry?
Is she still with him?
No. She divorced him. She divorced, which was after years of abuse. I'm talking about.
Were y'all grown when she divorced?
No. We were not grown, but she had a biological daughter by him. She had birthed my youngest sister, who was like maybe 10 years younger than I am, but 16 years younger than I am. So, wow. She just, wow. I don't know. And then it began to be we have learned behavior and taught behavior. I grew up, actually, into my relationships, my first marriage, my husband physically abused me. Wow. And that's because I thought he cared.
Do you think you went and chose someone similar to whom your mother?
Yeah, he was similar. He was so similar.
Is that what you liked about him?
To this day, I guess, that we got learned behavior and taught behavior. I learned to love a man like that who was really edgy, rough. I learned to love that, but then as I got older, I realized that's not love. That's not love. Jesus loves me more than any man could ever love me.
It seems like women, the mother and daughter, seem to like the same type men.
Yeah, just like I would expect from my son to go get a beautiful black woman such as myself. And sometimes we look for traits, the same traits that our mother and father are in our mother and father. I believe that's what it was. But today, I won't allow that. I so not would tolerate that at all.
Okay.
And wow, I just want to share that with you. And young lady you had was on point with the 3 stages.
Right.
Which is agitated, and then from agitated to the acute, and then the third one is the apologetic stage, which is the honeymoon. I'm sorry, make love, pillow talk. So, yeah, that's not love. That's not love. And I reach out to those women and I encourage them to open up and stop sweeping stuff under the rug and come out of those closed doors, because we are worth so much more than physical and mental abuse.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your call.
Yes, sir.
All right, 972-647-1893 is the number to call. Let's go to line 3 and say good morning to, is it Reverend Jefferson?
God bless you, Reverend Barnett. How are you, sir?
Fine. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. I listen to you often. I just had to cut in this morning because I was at the meeting on this past Thursday, I believe it was, Reverend Barnett, with Superintendent Miles.
Right.
Now, what happened was just unconscionable, and it's something that we are men of this city, and not only that, but I'm certain the mothers and women of this city just cannot accept. And that's the superintendent having another board member not escorted out, that they actually physically picked up Ms.
Nuttall?
Nuttall, and carried her and threw her out the Billy Day.
I tell you what, would you, Reb, let us put you on hold for a second.
All right.
We got Joyce Foreman, Trustee Foreman, on the line. Bring me up on line 1, all righty? Good morning, Ms. Foreman. You there?
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you.
Fine. Can you tell us what happened over there at Dade Middle School?
Well, I want to start out by saying I'm very disturbed about the incident at Dade and what happened to Trustee Nuttall. It is my understanding that Trustee Nuttall went to the school at 6:30 in the morning because there had been, we had heard about there being the removal of the principal, the assistant principals, and 10 teachers. And that just doesn't normally happen in a school. Particularly in the middle of the year.
Well, this is not even the middle. This is just October.
5 weeks.
Yeah. Your school's been going on, what, about 6 weeks, 7 weeks?
Yeah. So Trustee Nuttall went to the school to try to understand what was going on. In fact, she had called me and asked me if I could go to the school with her. And I could not.
Okay.
But she went over to the school. And it is our understanding that the superintendent was having a meeting over there, not a staff meeting, but a meeting. So Trustee Nuttall went over to the school to talk to some of the teachers and to see what was going on, to get a better understanding, because we got just a little one-page synopsis to tell us that this was going to happen. So she hadn't really been informed. Nobody had really been informed what was going on.
Now, let me explain something. We don't want to take anything for granted. The trustees, it's your job to set policy and run the district. Actually, y'all are his boss.
Correct.
Now, your underling, I have people that work for me. They cannot call security and have me thrown out of my business, but I can have them thrown out. Now, I heard him saying that he told her, fire me. He know good and well it takes 5 votes to fire him.
Yeah, let me get to that part.
Yeah, all right, go right ahead.
Let me get to that part. I'm getting there. So, Trustee Nuttall was in the building talking to some of the other people who had called her and asked her to come, because the people in the building do know the trustees and do call the trustees for different situations. My understanding is his meeting was being held on the 3rd floor of the building.
Okay.
Trustee Nuttall was on the 1st floor of the building.
She never did get to the 3rd floor?
Never got to the 3rd floor where the meeting was.
So he had her thrown out. He up on the 3 and she down on 1?
She's down on 1, but he has been telling people she was in his meeting. She never got to his meeting.
He told her he didn't want her in. Let me keep going. He told her he did not want her in the meeting. So she never got to his meeting. She confronted him on the first floor. Mm-hmm. And that's where the confrontation took place. She was asking him questions about what was going on in the school.
Have y'all had a meeting on this yet? Because I'm pushed on time. Have y'all had a meeting yet?
The meeting will be on Monday.
What time?
At 5:00.
Is the general public invited?
The general public can come, but they're going to go in closed session.
Right.
I pushed for the meeting, and at first, Miguel Solis did not want the meeting. I pushed. Trustee Nuttall then agreed with me, and then Trustee Blackburn also agreed. So he had 3 trustees that wanted the meeting. So he had to.
That's enough to call the meeting.
But they did not want to call the meeting. But I just wanted to get the public straight that Trustee Nuttall was not in the superintendent's meeting.
Well, look at George. We're going to have to talk again on this. I'm pushed for time. It's right at 8:00, and I got to take a short break, and I have another segment coming up. But we're going to have to talk about this because there are a lot of variables. I'm told that they picked this black woman up and carried her out of the building.
That is correct.
We as black men, there are some things we should not tolerate. Whether we agree or disagree with that person, you should lay hands on her like that. All right? But I'll talk to you, okay?
All right.
Okay. I tell you what, we're up against a short break. Dr. Drelvis Edwards is here. And that we got one line clear. Is the doctor going to call? Okay, he'll be calling, and we're going to talk about Ebola, health care, and how health care is distributed in the African-American community. We'll be right back. All right, we're ready for hour number 2 on Church Information and Open Forum. I'm Marion Barnett, your host. Joe is producing, and our special guest this morning is Dr. Drelvis Edwards, a physician here in the city of Dallas, and also Harvard professor Dr. Michael Bird is also with us. Could you bring him in on line 1? Dr. Bird, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you this morning?
Oh, it's wonderful to be here.
How are things in Boston?
Oh, things are well here in Boston, and I thank you for the invitation.
Yeah,
Barnett.
I tell you what, y'all have one of that Starbucks right there on Harvard's campus. That's one of the best Starbucks I've ever drank coffee out of. I just love it whenever I'm up there. But that's a good. I don't know what's special about this, because I usually don't care that much for Starbucks, but that one is good. That one is good.
Okay.
Yes. But we're here to talk about health care as it is practiced on African American people. And the health care system here, how it's ran here in America. Let me just ask both of you gentlemen from Jump Street, is it fair?
Well, Dr. Bird, since you happen to be the expert and I'm your student, I always give the teacher the first shot at that.
Well, I wish I could give you good news on that. In fact, our health system indeed is not fair, nor is it equitable, and nor has it been for the 407 years of its existence.
Well, I can attest to that personally, because I have great insurance, have everything, same insurance President Obama had. But I was sick for a while, couldn't breathe and everything. It was not until something told me, call your friend. I said, well, I'm getting health care, but I called Dr. Edwards. Dr. Edwards had rushed me into the hospital, and I couldn't breathe worth the quarter. Just things were going out on me. And he gave me some health care and brought me back to me. And others had not done that, so this lets me know personally there's something, because they told me, although this was going on in my life, they told me there wasn't nothing wrong with me, and obviously it was something that was wrong. that was going wrong. So, but I'm fine now because of Dr. Edwards, somebody, you know, a black man, a man look like me. So, what is it? Why is it we're not diagnosed the same? What's going on?
Well, I think your experience before you encountered and interacted with Dr. Edwards, and what we call that in medicine is the clinical encounter.
Mm-hmm.
You were having clinical encounters, but they were biased clinical encounters. Mm-hmm. They were clinical encounters that were ineffective for various reasons. Mm-hmm. Either the practitioner who you were seeing didn't really care, either he felt that you couldn't have afforded what he was going to recommend.
No, he saw my insurance. He knew I had.
You'd be surprised, Reverend Barnett. Many of these decisions, white physicians assume this godlike posture and make these decisions. And these decisions often defy reality.
Mm-hmm.
Your reality is that you probably could have afforded anything that he had recommended.
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't the point. His clinical posture was that you probably couldn't afford it.
Okay.
And so that still, nevertheless, adversely affects the clinical decision that he makes about you.
So, in other words, life or death could depend on your income.
Oh, yeah, it's no question. In America, it depends on how you look. It depends on how you talk. It depends on whether you are rich or poor.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on whether or not you're an immigrant or your immigrant status, and how much money you have.
All right. What about Mr. Duncan? Do you think that had anything to do with his life as we went into Presbyterian? Do you think had he been a European male, had gone in with the same sickness, 103 degrees and different things like this, vomiting and doing things, do you think he would be alive today?
Okay, we can't speculate on that.
We can't prove it, but do you think it? Do you believe there's a possibility he could be alive today?
Well, let's look at the facts of the 6, and I think it's a question of up to 8 people who have contracted Ebola in the country, in the United States, who have diagnosed Ebola in the United States. Only the black man has died.
Well, and the black lady in Atlanta, I don't know about y'all, but she's sort of being she's vilified. They're portraying her as some type of villain when she was there giving health care when she caught it, just like the Asian lady whom they are glorifying. And I listen closely at the media and how they frame things.
Your audience should pray for Ms. Amber Vinson and Nina Pham.
Right.
I agree. They are trying to demonize both of those brave health workers who threw themselves into the pit and were on the front line of the neglectful public health system and have suffered the risk of catching Ebola from it. And they are really our heroes. They, along with the young nurse, Miss, I think I have a great deal of difficulty pronouncing her name, Miss Guerrero, Guerreri, whatever her name. She's a young nurse who's the so-called whistleblower, who actually, Geary, that's her name, who actually gave candid testimony about how Mr. Duncan was cared for. All of those people deserve our prayer. They were on the front line and hope that they can go through this episode without deleterious things happening, either dying or having their lives injured.
Now, when we see what's going on, there's what, a third patient, third health practitioner that has caught this virus?
From what I can understand, I think it's 2.
No, she hasn't caught the virus.
No, but didn't they announce yesterday a third person?
Oh, yes. I have not heard the news yet of whether that person was positive. See, the only way you can actually make the diagnosis is with what's called an ELISA test. And that takes a pretty sophisticated laboratory. Mm-hmm. And to diagnose her, they would have to go out, helicopter, out to that ship, draw blood, take it to the special laboratories. Mm-hmm. Not but a few special laboratories. I think Texas has one of the laboratories.
It's in Austin, I think.
Yes, in Austin, and of course Washington, but there's all around the NIH and at Emory. And they will have to test the blood there and determine with the ELISA test whether or not this other healthcare worker actually does have Ebola. I have not heard that result was a positive test yet.
Isn't it strange, though? I often think about this. The largest medical center in the world is in the state of Texas, Houston.
Uh-huh.
And they've been awfully silent in Houston on this thing. And you go to Houston, and that medical center look like downtown Dallas or downtown Houston. It's so large. It's unbelievably huge. Why do you believe, what's going on? How come nobody is mentioning Harris County Medical Center?
One of the major reasons is for really the last 150 years, the United States has been like Ebenezer Scrooge as far as spending money on public health activities. And I'm talking about less than 2% of healthcare dollars are dedicated to public health in America. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Wow.
Most of our hospitals, unfortunately, have turned into playgrounds for our physicians, and usually white physicians, to give their new sophisticated treatments, to perform their new technological, exorbitantly expensive surgeries, and to distribute their new pharmaceuticals and new medical appliances to the public. All of these players in this picture take huge profits from each step of that. And so our hospitals have turned into marketplaces for delivery of our health products. The old-fashioned values that our hospitals were originally built upon, to take care of the community's health and to provide a public health safety net for the community, those things have been forgotten. And because the hospitals spend billions of dollars annually for care, far less than 1% of it goes for anything that's public health related. That's why Presbyterian Hospital in your city, they didn't have up-to-date gear to handle an Ebola patient. They should have had it. I'm sure they're quite profitable. This is not a low class joint here, Presbyterian. That's what I'm saying.
No. Now his apartment,
the hospital.
Yeah, where he lived was close.
Yeah.
But this is it's out in the area north to northeast Dallas on Walnut Hill Lane. Very high class facility that you would thought would have been prepared for something like this, but it wasn't. And the head of the hospital was there in Congress apologizing and going on. But what is it? I have to agree with you. You said 2%?
It's far less than 2%.
That's spent on public health.
And most of that public health money is spent on providing inferior crash care for the urban poor at places like Parkland Hospital in your city, Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami, Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn, Boston Medical Center in Boston, Cook County Hospital in Chicago, L.A. County General in Los Angeles. Most of that money is spent for that, providing inferior, low-quality care.
So, in other words, all of these hospitals that we be hearing now, where they rush our people to get medical care, we're actually going to a sort of a second-hand store?
They used to be described. The book title that best epitomizes that was written by one of the public health experts, and he titled his book, and he had been the chief medical officer at 3 of the biggest and most affluent of the public hospitals. And he titled his book, Public Hospitals. The subtitle was Under Care of the Underprivileged.
Wow. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it, a book right now. Dr. Edwards is showing me City Hospitals.
City Hospitals, Under Care of the Underprivileged.
Dr. was it Harry Dowling?
Harry Dowling, who was a very eminent physician, dedicated his entire life to serving underserved populations.
I know it's not a part of it, but Dr. Edwards, my friend, been friends for years and years. I think he was punished for serving underprivileged people. Does it seem like, Doc, it seemed like you got punished for that?
Reverend Barnett, any practitioner or provider who goes out of his way to serve underprivileged populations is punished in our present health system.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. Well, I'm sure you know about it. I'm singing to the choir with you, but it's a sad situation. That what do they want? A certain number of people to die? What's going on?
Well, you must understand the United States health system has always been built on foundations of race, ethnicity, class, and gender discrimination. It's been built like that since 1607. And the white medical profession has been a heavily participating factor in all of that. They erected and supervised the slave health subsystem during our 246 years of chattel slavery. They supervised and erected our hospitals during the 19th century with a segregated health system that was biased and unequitable, and they have continued to accept 75 to 100,000 excess African-American deaths every year.
And when you think about it, I'm old enough to remember when you had a little outhouse there at St. Paul Hospital over there off of Bryan that was used. That was the black St. Paul.
Yeah.
A little bitty outhouse.
Yeah.
Much more than outhouse. And
the white medical profession is the one who have erected all of that. And if you notice, it's very few of your doctors there at Presbyterian that have stepped forward and spoken out throughout this whole crisis.
Right.
In fact, I have not seen one. I'm sure some of you in Dallas might have seen one or two speak out on interviews and so forth. But I've been looking very closely from here in Boston, and I haven't seen a single physician from Presbyterian Hospital. Where was the chief of the emergency room? He was a physician. Where was the chief of internal medicine? He was a physician. Where was the chief of the hospital staff? He's a physician. Why weren't any of them available to be interviewed or to try to explain why this hospital failed so miserably?
That is food for thought. If you just joined us, this is radio station Knon 89.3 FM on your dial. I'm Marion Barnett, your host. Our special guest this morning is Dr. Jobless Edwards and Dr. Michael Bird. Dr. Bird is on the staff at Harvard University, and Dr. Edwards is a practicing physician here in Dallas. I tell you what, I'm up against a short break, and after we take this break, those of you who have been holding them so long, so patiently on the line, I'm going to take some calls from y'all. We'll be right back. All right. We're back on Church Information and Open Forum. I'm Marion Barnett, your host, and your guest, special guest this morning is Dr. Michael Bird, Dr. Jobless Edwards. And if you have questions or comments that you would like to talk to these distinguished gentlemen, call us at 972-647-1893. All righty, let's go to line 4 and say good morning to Billy. Let's see if Billy's still there. Billy, are you there? I know they've been holding a long time. He's gone. All right, let's go to line 2 and say good morning to Barbara. See if she's still there. Barbara, are you there? I'm sorry, you've been holding a long time. All right, let's go to line 3 and see who we have on line 3. Are you there? Okay, these callers have been holding well. Wait. Do I hear somebody? Okay. All right. Call us at 972. Bring the callers on. They're ringing it back up. Let's see, can we get them on? Because I'm sorry for holding y'all so long. Bring me line 3, line 4, and bring them on. All right. But while they're getting these callers lined up, gentlemen, what can we do as a people about this?
We are going to need to through every means possible, and that's through our political system, voting and getting out the votes and voting out politicians who are not talking the right talk. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to use all of our social protest activity if necessary if we're not getting the appropriate attention. We have to do everything that's legal and ethical and somewhat in the lines of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Everything that he would have considered appropriate at this time to wage change in the health system. Do we have anybody in national politics right now that's standing up and giving an outrage outcry about the health care system?
There is no one.
Nobody's doing it. In fact, the only black physician that is speaking out, he's on the wrong side. And I'm not going to mention it.
The fellow from Baltimore, Maryland?
Huh?
The fellow from Baltimore, Maryland running for president?
Well, I don't want to get into that, but he's on the wrong side.
No, you don't want him speaking for us. Oh my God! Yeah. But now, I mean, something needs to be put together where we can come together. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. You exactly. On this side of heaven, you're basically you're talking about ground zero. You're at zero on this side of heaven if you don't have your health.
That's right.
So this is even more important than civil rights or anything else.
Listen, it's such a wonderful thing to hear you saying that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about any of our national black leaders? Do you talk to any of them about starting a movement?
This is one thing you have to understand, Reverend Barnett. These people, many of them are well-intended. They've been handed a propaganda program, and a propaganda program including assertions that we have the best health system in the world. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And it is politically incorrect to critique or say anything negative about the health delivery system.
Okay.
We are on the faculty here at Harvard. They expect us to say it because we've always told nothing but the truth. Okay? If it's the facts, and those are the true facts and about the situation, we tell you the truth about it. There's nothing that the public shouldn't be informed about when it comes to their health system and their ability to maintain their health and be protected by the public health system. That is our attitude, myself and my wife.
But shouldn't
we've been involved in this struggle for almost 40 years now.
Shouldn't the fight over health care in America pique the interest of people to realize that, to show that there are people out there that don't care anything about the health of the poor, black people, whatever you are, if you're poor? Shouldn't that pique our interest? Shouldn't that start a movement to say, well, hey, why is it they don't want everyone to have decent health care?
Well, the last time that there was a peak in interest in health care regarding minorities was between 1965 and 1975, mixed in with and as a byproduct of the black civil rights movement during that era. And I'm sure you remember that era, when Dr. King and the SCLC and the SNCC and all of the other organizations were very activist. And in most cities, it was the ministers and the ministerial class that was actually leading the movement. They provided the headquarters where the meetings were held. They provided the manpower for leadership positions in most instances. But that's really been the last time that we've really been able to get the black public's attention. But they have been fed a huge amount of propagandistic data and misinformation after that time and have seemingly gone for it. Dr. Thatcher, when he was Surgeon General, he published articles about the excess deaths that African Americans suffered.
Yeah, but we had a Surgeon General to get fired behind making statements that was really true and correct.
Exactly. Well, I remember that, and I think you're probably referring to Dr. Elders.
Yes, a black woman.
Yeah, she was attempting to deal with some of our birth control issues.
Right.
And like you said, she said
Bill Clinton fired her.
Yeah, and she got fired for doing that. And so this has been the story, and we really do need to engage in another movement similar to the movement we had between 1965 and 1975 if we want to have any influence whatsoever on pressuring for change in this health system. And let's look at Mr. Duncan's experience. Mr. Duncan went to the emergency room. Mr. Duncan was ill at that time, having symptoms. He spiked 103.5 fever. During the time he was in the emergency room.
That's awfully hot.
Which is in and of itself means that he was unstable. Okay? I have not seen an account yet that says that he even saw a physician.
No?
During his time there.
Right.
I'm not trying to say that nurse practitioners or physician's assistants are not well trained and that they're not of any value. But in a situation like that, with a person that's potentially critically ill, for a person that potentially has a rare diagnosis like Ebola, I think a physician should have been involved, and an infectious disease specialist at that.
And he told them that he had just come from Western Africa.
And he told them that, exactly right. He told them that he had come.
So what more could you ask for to show that you need to be admitted?
Exactly. Well, this is our story. It's much like it's a highlight type of story that you told about your
Dr. Edwards never asked me about insurance. The people up front. Well, all he did was wanted to help me, and there's a good chance. He said, well, I ain't no good chance. He saved my life. So I'm firsthand to let you know that it makes a difference to have somebody seem to look like you, to really, that will come through for you and really research and do what needs to be done to help you.
Yes, well, that is Dr. Edwards is the epitome of the good aspect of what the American medical profession is about. Mm-hmm. Okay, he has always represented that. I've known him for years, and he's always represented that, and I'm not surprised whatsoever. But when Mr. Duncan was sent down there, he never saw a physician. He was obviously clinically unstable, and they sent him home. And this happens thousands of times a day in the United States.
Yes, this is just one case that got exposed. Yeah. I promised the callers I was going to take some calls. I promised them. I don't want to hog everything. I know you got a lot to tell us, Dr. Bird, but you don't mind taking some calls, right?
Oh, sure.
All right. Let's go to line 3 and say good morning to LB. All righty. Good morning, LB.
Good morning, Reverend Barnett, and to Dr.
Edwards and Dr. Bird.
Dr. Bird, good morning to you both. Thank you for taking my call.
Good right ahead.
I wanted to make a question. I really believe that it's not about for helping the people. It's more for profit. I used to work for a medical hospital, but it was more than the administrative part. But they really kept us informed, even though we weren't at the hospital, of what was going on. And I realized that it was a lot of for-profit hospitals opening up. It wasn't a hospital for the people; they were actually for profit. Yeah. And so, with that being said, I think that they really not concerned with preventing illness more than just treating it, because there's more money in treating people. Yeah, it's not a mindset of, stopping something before it happens, because you won't make a profit in treating it. But I also want to know, have you heard, or if, like, with Presbyterians made the biggest mistake for it, just all over the world know this. Yeah. Is there any hospitals being prepared to be proactive instead of reactive, that if somebody walked in there today off the street, and they have a unit that comes in and just takes over that person? Or are they just waiting on somebody to just walk in off the street at any other little community place and something else spread in the community in a whole nother hot spot of Dallas? Nobody's saying that. Are they prepared if something else happens, or are they around waiting on something to happen? Because nobody seems to know what they're doing.
Can I answer that, Dr. Bird? I think that she's on point. I think what you have basically outlined is there is a protocol. Number one is that money is first. Now, I took an oath 34 years ago that I would care for people, whether they had the ability to pay or not. And what I believe we have gotten away from severely is that oath that we took in medical school. And these financiers and hedge fund brokers and so forth, who've now moved from Wall Street into the hospital parlors and into the outpatient emergency room, standalone emergency rooms. I think that what you're saying is absolutely right, that we have turned this into a cash cow. And most people really don't recognize that many of the public hospitals like Parkland actually bring in more revenue than for-profit hospitals. If you know that, Parkland will bring in this year somewhere around $4 billion. This is a hospital where people wait 12, 14, 16 hours. Okay, this has turned into a cash cow per se, and I think you're absolutely right. And I made a vow that I am not going to chase a dollar. I would chase the patient, make sure that that patient gets what they need, and then if I make the money, fine. If I don't, and I've never had a down year really since I've been in the 34 years, because I believe that is the oath that I took. It's a vow that I took, and it's not based upon money. This is a service industry. This is not the Wall Street. This is a service industry. I'm a servant. It's a privilege to serve. It's a privilege to have the training that I've had and be able to share that with patients so they can have a better lifestyle and they can have a better health care for themselves. But I think that you are absolutely, on point.
All right. All right. Thank you, LB. All right. That clears the line. 972-647-1893. 972-647-1893. Let's go to line 2 and say good morning to Vince. All righty. Good morning, Vince. Oh, we got a lot of them dropping off this morning. All righty. Let's go to line 4 and say good morning to Randy. All righty. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Brother Barnett, and to your guests. Good morning.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, because, now that a couple other people have contacted this virus and have been moved to another hospital, which I think that's probably what it should have been done to start with, even with Mr. Duncan, I think he probably should have been moved to Atlanta because they had obviously had been through the experience of a couple of doctors, I think, coming back from
Randy, not cutting you off, but let me ask Dr. Edwards and Dr. Bird, is that a disgrace on Dallas?
Well, I think it's a disgrace on Dallas, but it's a larger disgrace on the structure of the current healthcare system. Mm-hmm. That we are not even prepared to take care of, because 500,000 people die a year of influenza viruses and so forth. So we give vaccination, but I think the fact that what is so ominous and so hideous about this, I guess I should say, is that this man presented to the hospital where obviously all you had to do was, if you were unsure, to call the physician and say, hey, I need you to look at this gentleman. He's from West Africa. He's got 103 fever. Let's make sure that we don't send him home, because really the emergency room is primarily in place to make sure people, when they come and they are evaluated, that people that need to remain in the hospital or need to be in a medical facility, that happens through the emergency room. People that need to go home, they can go home. So the emergency room is just is really a conduit to make sure.
So in other words, you feel like that decision should have been made from a higher level. The way they're talking is, was this a nurse or somebody, who made the decision?
Well, it doesn't sound like he's seen a physician. He didn't see a physician. He was sent home with antibiotics, and so I think it's a clinical judgment. That's what you do. You make clinical judgments.
Who makes those, the nurse or the doctor? Well,
the doctor is the captain of the ship. He should be.
Hey, let me get my two quick questions.
Randy, let me put you on hold. I'm going to bring you back right after the break. Let me put you on hold. We'll be right back in just a moment. All right, we're back on Church Information and Open Forum. I'm Marion Barnett, your host. Our special guest this morning is Dr. Greg Barber and Dr. Michael Bird. And bring Randy back on. He was on line 4. Randy, you still there?
Yes, sir. My two quick questions are, first question is, at what point when you are in an emergency room with an illness can you insist on being admitted to a hospital? And the second question is, because we haven't heard anything about Mr. Duncan's family that was exposed potentially originally when this whole thing went down. I'm guessing they're at their 21st, 22nd day
I think it ends tomorrow, doesn't it?
Exposure. So my question is, can you give us any information on that family? Because this should be a weekend of celebration for them and all this chaos. And I'll hang up and listen to the answers.
All right. Thank you for
your first question was, can you insist when you're in the emergency room that you be admitted? That's you can definitely make a present your case that, hey, I'm not well, I need to be admitted to the hospital. That would be left up to those individuals who make those decisions. Now, what they do is they take, the labs, they take blood work usually and do tests and x-rays and so forth. If all of those tests come back and they are within normal limits, all of your vital signs are stable, usually you won't get admitted, okay? But in this case, with 103 fever, based upon the travel, based upon where he had been, there would be no reason under any good clinical judgment that you wouldn't say, hey, even if you didn't think you were going to admit him, you would go get a second opinion. And there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion. That we have a situation here that looks very, very serious, and so that was never done. And I can't tell you exactly why, other than that was biased clinical decision making. I think it was unequal treatment, and I think that there was a lack of cultural competence
and a lack of insurance,
and a lack of insurance. Of course, that always that always makes the cake taste sweeter.
And so he was told to go get some Tylenol. He may could afford that.
Give him some antibiotics and go. And I think his second question was, the Duncan family has been rather quiet. I think that they are probably getting inundated with a lot of calls and attorneys and so forth. So it's going to be, until it kind of, simmers down, I think that they'll probably be sort of in isolation until things get better.
I had heard they were doing well. I think it either cuts off today or tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow, 21st day.
Okay.
And none of them have shown any symptoms. Remember, when he was around them, he wasn't showing any symptoms, according to the report. So that's something we dealt with. All right, let's go to line 2 and say good morning to Oliver. All righty. Good morning, Oliver.
Good morning, Reverend Basson. I appreciate it. I'm glad you took me on there. I'm blind and 73 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the emergency room. It's been quite a while though, and I was in a car accident. Even though I went to Baylor, I wanted the situation. Who is the doctor that wrote that prescription? And when I went to the hospital, they contact my doctor and everything. Besides the other doctor, how could somebody write a prescription? Is the doctor the only one can write a prescription?
Gentlemen?
No, in some states they still they have that restriction, but here in Texas, nurse practitioners and those who've passed the examination, PAs can write prescriptions. So over the last 5 years to 7 years, other than the doctor can write prescription, but also the nurse practitioner, or if you're seen by a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant, they can also write prescriptions to a certain.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just wondering about that because it's been about 6 years ago.
That's right. That's correct.
Now, who have they said who the head of emergency at this time when this young man came in? I'm talking about Mr. Duncan to the emergency room. That was somebody that's over that whole division, isn't it?
When you are the physician there, what they have is what they call a site medical director of the emergency room. So that he may not have been on that day, but you can always call him.
Somebody has to be in charge.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody's in charge, and that. Let me tell you, this is awful. I mean, this, Reverend Barnett, this is awful. It almost makes you cringe based upon what I've heard and how people have run into seclusion and not coming forth and say, I was the doctor that was on, I was unaware, or I was made aware after he went home, or whatever.
But somebody got to say the buck stops with me.
That's correct. That is correct. Nobody has said that.
Dr. Bird, have you heard anybody say that?
No. I haven't. And this is one of the reasons that this case needs to be written up for examination by a school of public health, because as you know, up here at Harvard, the case study method is one of our principal teaching tools. And what we do in where we think biased clinical decision making or discriminatory treatment has taken place, we investigate the case, getting as much information as we can from the hospital itself, from the family, from family members, and health workers who were present on site, and attempt to assemble as many of the facts of what happened in the case in a sequential manner. And then we analyzed it. And then,
but this seems more like a cover-up, not an investigation.
Yeah, we point out the defect and then make recommendations for correction.
All right.
And this is a case that's crying out for that.
All right. All right, let's go to Larry on line 3. All ready? Good morning, Larry.
Hello, Dr. Barnett. Okay, now I'm going to move from the fear factor, what man can do and what doctors and stuff are doing and stuff in this particular incident. Okay, the woman that was healed, she was named after the disease. How did that happen?
The woman that was healed was named after the disease?
Yeah, Miss Wright Bowler.
Miss who?
Wright Bowler, the woman that was healed.
Wright Boulder.
Wright Bowler.
Oh, you talking about the first lady that contracted over in
right, she had the name. Okay.
Well, now Ebola is the name of a river in the Congo. That's where the disease gets the name from.
Okay, but okay. That's fine. That's fine. Okay.
I think that's probably just her name and coincidence.
Okay, but she was healed from it. All right.
Right.
Okay, so now Nigeria, they ain't having no problem with it.
No, they don't allow anybody from certain countries to come into Nigeria.
Okay. All right, Nigeria put it down. Okay. All right, so now the young people, let's go to the 21st century where the young people are not worried about doctors, not scared. If you call Q&A Labs at 1-888-588-7576, the young people are using Q&A Labs, and you can find out anything that's wrong with you when you go to these new style doctors. See, they don't want to admit that you got new style doctors from the old style doctors. Okay, if you go to Q&A Labs, 1-888-588-7576, you will know everything that's going on in new medicine. Okay, the young people are doing it. Alpha Kalpha and all these people who don't worry about going to the doctor. You don't hardly see them having no opinion about this because the doctors are taking a new look at what goes on in medicine and finding out how to cure it. So all parents need to call that number and have their new doctors coming in to their home, 1-888-588-7576, because Liberia is a real sinful place. You don't want to admit what God got doing in it. You know what I mean? He got something going on there, too. Liberia is a very bad place. They're cannibals. They do everything that it takes to do wrong. Now, look into Liberia and see what...
I'll tell you what, for the sake of time, I have to move on. And I thank you for your call. Thank you, sir. 972-647-1893. Let's try to get Joe Jack in. Who is this, Joe? Joe Jack. All right. Good morning, Joe Jack.
Good morning to you, Dr. Barnett, and two doctors that are there.
Yes.
I have some questions that seem we can't seem to ask about this entire situation. We see one special jet that took the Vietnamese lady to Bethesda. We haven't seen any news media of the sister that was taken down to Georgia.
No, and the media that's covering the sister in Georgia has been very negative here, and really nationally. Everyone is talking about the trip, but did she not call the CDC and get advice from them on whether she should travel?
That's correct. And
this is a young woman now trying to get married. So it's not much more zeal you can find than a young woman trying to get married.
Right.
So,
well, here's another thing. I mean, this whole situation from start to finish, as I visualize it with the PhD in common sense that I have, it makes no sense to have two workers over there that are working this close to Ebola. They first they said they just had enough for Dr. Brandley. Find the tape on them saying we just got enough for him. All of a sudden they found enough for the lady. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this whole situation of one jet, didn't they make another jet like
I've
this?
been meaning to ask him that. It's been on the tip of my tongue, but gentlemen, what is this thing that there was no more serum left for Mr. Duncan?
Right.
Where did this come from?
Well, let me explain. The gentleman has made a very acute observation. We have
Steve Wonder could have made it.
We have an ongoing and crisis problem as far as differential treatment of people of color and other minority people in the health profession. In other words, discriminatory behavior toward black doctors, black nurses, and other people of color is a day-to-day occurrence in the United States health system. In fact, that's an entire another flaw in the system that no one very seldom ever deals with.
Mm-hmm. Right, and you're in the healthcare profession. If you're a nurse or a doctor, if it comes to your health and your welfare, you better question it. See, because they sent these people in there not prepared with the right things, and they went in there and did that. You see what I'm saying?
Sure. Well,
so you have to have the common sense and the voice.
I can't second guess, but I will bet you that the majority of those health workers that they sent in there, it was a disproportionate number of them that were people of color.
Yeah.
Who were exposed to that risk.
I tell you what, gentlemen, this has been a very short hour, We are completely out of time. Dr. Bird, we'd like to thank you. Magnificent. Dr. Edwards, magnificent. Great job. But there are a million more questions I could ask you about this, but because this thing has so many holes in it, it's almost ridiculous to have that many holes. A multi-billion-dollar corporation like Presbyterian Hospital, it's a corporation. Sure. It's just like anything. They're there for profit. And people who don't know across this nation, it's supposed to be a first-class hospital. It's supposed to be, it's in one of the wealthier sections of Dallas, and these things, for it to be ill-prepared, is something that is just totally unacceptable here in this day and time. And I thank both of you gentlemen for being a part of this program.
Thank you, Reverend Barnett.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bird.
Reverend Barnett.
Thank you. All right. We got to get our job line in, and thank God for our own Mr. Greg Barber. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Reverend Barnett.
We're trying to keep people healthy enough to go to work. Are there any jobs out there?
There are some jobs out here this morning on our SAT job line, brought to you every Saturday morning during church information and open forum this morning. On the job line, we have New York Insurance is looking for customer service representatives. They're asking you to apply online at www.jobs.newyorklife.com. Once again, that's New York Insurance. Looking for customer service representatives, asking you to apply online at www.jobs.newyorklife.com. Republic Services is looking for customer service representatives. They're asking you to apply online at www.republicservices.jobs. Once again, that's Republic Services, customer service representative. They're asking you to apply online at www.republicservices.jobs. Microelectronics is looking for warehouse associates. They're asking you to apply online at www.microcenter.com. Once again, that's Microelectronics looking for warehouse associates. They're asking you to apply online at www.microcenter, MICROCENTER.com. Old Castle is looking for warehouse representatives. They're asking you to apply online at www.oldcastle.com. Once again, that's Old Castle is looking for warehouse representatives. They're asking you to apply online at www.oldcastle.com. Kinchelo Oil Company is looking for warehouse representatives. They're asking you to apply in person at 2717 Satsuma Drive, Dallas, Texas, 75229. Once again, that's Kinchelo Oil is looking for warehouse position. They're asking you to apply in person Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 2717 Satsuma, that's Satsuma Drive, Dallas, Texas, 75229. You are a child-loving patient, an energetic individual, and would like to work in a daycare setting. The inquiry is 972-290-4995. Once again, if you are a child-loving patient, an energetic individual, and would like to work in a daycare setting, the number for inquiry is 972-290-4995. If you are a person affected by addiction and need assistance with your recovery efforts, or an ex-offender trying to make that transition back to mainstream society and needs assistance with job search, the number for inquiry is 214-642722. Once again, if you are a person affected by addiction and needs assistance with your recovery efforts, or an ex-offender trying to make that transition back into mainstream society and need assistance for job search, the number for inquiry is 214-642722. Today is a good day if you're looking for a job to find one. Let me repeat that. Today is a good day if you're looking for a job to find one. Today is also a great day to get ready to start early voting on Monday. Today is a great day to prepare yourself to get ready to vote. Early voting starts on Monday. Greg Barnett, if I might comment on the subject matter of the day.
Yeah, we got about 10 seconds. Go right ahead.
Okay, well, Greg Barnett, election year politics, and also understand this was damage control all the way, from the Fed all the way down. Nobody expected it. Yes, they were sent a notice to get ready for Ebola, but everybody viewed that as on the other side of the world. Doesn't affect us, plus it's not cost effective. Damage control all the way.
All righty. Thank you. And thank you for a great job with the job line. But I also have a couple of books. An American Health Dilemma by Dr. Michael Bird and Dr. Linda Clayton. That's for good reading. Get it on Amazon. Also, Unequal Treatment by Dr. Bird. You need to read these books. You need to know what's going on in the American health system here in America. You need to get those books. Unequal Treatment by Dr. Michael Bird, and also An American Health Dilemma, Race, Medicine, and Healthcare in the United States. Dr. Michael Bird. Got to run? You're invited to come to Heavenly Joy Church. We're located at Bruton Masters every Sunday morning service beginning at 11 o'clock. Thank you, Dr. Edwards. Thank you for being a part of it. And we got to get out here and got to run. Y'all have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people. Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.